Medium of sound. So the sound requires a medium to travel, and we have studied till now the propagation of sound, in which we have seen how the sound waves travel in the form of compressions and rarefactions in the air. So there, air is the medium. So how we can define the medium? The medium is the substance through which sound travels. The substance through which sound travels is called medium. And this substance can be liquid, gas, or solid. So the mediums are liquid, gas, or solid. These are also called as material mediums because they have the liquid, solid, and gas, they're all materials, so we call it as material mediums. So the sound waves requires material mediums for propagation. That's what we understand. Now because the sound waves require a material medium for propagation, the sound waves are called mechanical waves. Why sound waves are called mechanical waves? Because they require material medium for propagation. We also need to understand that sound waves cannot travel through vacuum. So sound waves cannot travel through vacuum. Unlike the light and radio waves. The light and radio waves are basically electromagnetic waves consisting of electrical and magnetic fields. And they can travel through vacuum. And that is the reason why sound waves travels for a shorter distance. It cannot travel for a longer distance. And we can see basically an experiment to understand or to prove that the sound waves cannot travel through vacuum. Let us take a beaker filled with air and let's have an electrical calling bell. Since it's an electrical bell, the switch is connected elsewhere. And a person standing here is to confirm whether sound is heard or not. Now in this case, in this beaker, when we press the electrical switch, the sound is heard by this person. So, sound is heard in this case. And the same equipment, let us have a vacuum pump connected to it. What the vacuum pump does is, whatever the air that is inside will get drained out. Now in this case, the beaker is filled with vacuum. That means there is no air. When there is no air and it is with vacuum, and the same bell which is connected to a switch, when you press the switch, will the person who is standing here next to the equipment, can he hear the sound? As the air is getting pumped out by the vacuum pump, the quantity of air inside the beaker is lesser and lesser. When it is lesser and lesser, the sound that the person hears also becomes feeble. So at the end of it, when there is no air at all and it's full of vacuum, then the sound cannot be heard. So in this case, where it is with vacuum, sound cannot be heard. So from this experiment, when there is air, the sound is able to travel through. So it requires a medium. In this case, it is air, which is a gas. When it is a vacuum and the air is pumped out, when there is a vacuum, the sound is not heard. So this proves that the sound waves require a medium for propagation. So let's see, for example, in a liquid and in a solid or in a gaseous state, how we can hear the sound. Now we have seen in the gaseous state. We have seen in air, in a gaseous state, how the sound is heard. In a vacuum, why it is not heard. Now let's see, for example, in the solid, if you take a solid state, we will take a toy telephone. So how the toy telephone is used by the kids? There is a tin can and another tin can. Both are connected by the solid thread. So this is a thick thread which connects the tin cans. Now this person talked through this tin can and it is heard by this person hearing through another tin can. So what does it mean? The sound travels through the thread. In this case, sound travels through the thread. So what is the thread here? It is a solid. So it's an example for how sound travels through thread. Now in the same manner, if you take a real telephone, when somebody calls the phone and it starts ringing. So when the phone bell starts ringing, how a person in the room can hear that ringing of the bell? Because the sound of ringing bell travels through air. Here the sound travels through air. Now an example for sound traveling through liquid, we can say the submarines. So submarines are the examples for how the sound travels through liquid, because the sound travels here through seawater. So what actually happens is the sound of engine of submarines travel through seawater and it is detected by special headphones called hearing aids called hydrophones. So the sound of the engines are detected through hydrophones. That is how people find out whether submarines are there in that particular place. In submarines, sound travels through seawater. So having understood the medium of sound and how sound travels through various mediums like liquid, gas or solid,